Hey, yo, everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review. Do you know what today is? Today's Wednesday, the best day of the week. You know why? Because it's comic book day. That means we're going to be talking about my comic load for the week. So, let's just jump right into it because I want to jump right into it and I know you want to jump right into it. So, let's start things off. Let's place these down here. Let's start things off as we always do, with a little bit of Batman in our day, with Batman issue number 12. And as always, I get all the variant covers, even the combo pack, which I don't use. I give the code to my friend. So, Batman issue number 12. We're done with the Court of the Owl story arc, and this is kind of an epilogue, for lack of a better term, and we get to see the story of Harper Row, that girl that we saw in issue number 1, and we also get to see in issue 6, I believe, where she restarts Batman's heart. And we get to see her journey parallel to Batman's journey during the Court of the Owl story arc. And we learn about her family situation, we learn about where she lives, where she works, why there's such a drastic change in her character's appearance over her first appearance in issue 1 to her appearance in issue 6, and her connection with Batman. That's basically the gist of the story. It's more or less character development and character setup for this Harper Row character. So on to the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Good. I do like Harper Row, and I do like her brother. I think they're good characters that have a lot of untapped potential. And I particularly like their first encounter with the Batman and how they have, I guess, a connection, for lack of a better term, with the Batman. And her eagerness to always help Batman, even when he says he doesn't want the help. So I do like that. The art in this was pretty good. It was almost kind of anime-like, but it wasn't anime-like. But I did enjoy the art. It fit the tone for what the comic was, and the dialogue was very nice. Bad. The only bad I could say about this is, usually I like Scott Snyder's internal dialogue or his narrative dialogue because it allows you to get a sense of the comic, the characters, and the atmosphere. But I think it was used a little too much in this, just a little too much. I think with this one-shot issue-ish with Hopper Row, it should have been a little bit quicker, a little bit more faster pace. But besides that, this was a very solid issue, and I did enjoy it a lot. I look forward to Hopper Row in the future and her as a character in the future. So I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. Fun issue. So I will just place it there. Okay, moving on again. That's still a little bit more Batman in our day. We're doing Batman and Robin issue number 12. This is the end of the War of the Robins and Terminus story arc. And basically, Terminus is going around causing trouble, trying to rage his war on Batman and Gotham. The same kind of stuff we hear from supervillains and criminals and people that are just bad. And this is, for lack of a better term, a WWE matchup. This is The Rock versus John Cena, Undertaker versus Big Show, Mankind versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's really just a big fight between Batman and Terminus. While this is going on, all the previous Robins, Tim Drake, Jason Todd, and Dick Grayson, jump in and help out Damian Wayne, despite the douchebag that he's been as of recently. But he's a douchebag with a heart of gold, one that we all love. But that's the basic gist of the story. On to the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Good. Well, first good is Batman uses a special bat suit. I don't want to call him mech suit because it's not a mech suit, but basically it's a suited armor. And similar to Detective issue number 12, he uses this to fight the final bad guy. Unlike Detective issue number 12, this was actually utilized fairly well. It was to augment Batman's strength, speed, and capability against Terminus, who was substantially more powerful than Batman. The armor was well used, and I did enjoy it. While it did not look as good as issue 12's Detective Comics special Batman armor, this was handled a lot better. The wrap up of the Robin story arc I thought was handled fairly well. It really just involved Damon and Dick, and Dick's the one kind of snapping some sense into Damian, and I thought that was fun. And the action in this was pretty good too. Bad. The only bads I can think about is one, and this isn't really bad, but it's more or less suspension of disbelief. Terminus has a plan B. Even if he loses, he has a plan B, and Batman needs to go stop this plan B. How he does it is a little ridiculous, more or less, not because he does it in this way, but because he's able to catch up and make it to this plan B so quickly, even with the power suit. A little silly. And besides that, I felt as though the War of the Robins was underutilized. I mean, we see Jason fight Dick, and Jason fight Damian, and we see Damian kind of tease Tim, but we really don't see too much conflict between them. I think this story arc would have served a lot better if it was maybe, I want to say, an issue or two longer. It resolved nicely, but I did not feel as though it reached its full potential. On the whole, I enjoyed this also, but I'm not going to give it anything higher than a 4. So pick it up if you like. Moving on to the last Bat book of the week, and that would be Batgirl issue number 12. And I do want to just say, Batgirl has had fantastic cover art, and this has to be one of my favorite thus far. Not only is it gorgeous, but it really is cool looking. Um, and it is exactly as it looks: Batgirl versus Batwoman. Batgirl is trying to work with that crooked cop to take down Nightfall, to get information on Nightfall, but unfortunately, the DEA, or DEO, I always get screwed up, and Batwoman want to take down this crooked cop. And so she does, but Batgirl does not want to allow this to happen. And at the end of the day, Batgirl is going to have to face up against the nefarious and evil Nightfall and take her out. However, things definitely do not go the way for Batgirl because this issue, Batgirl has some trouble during it. And exactly where that trouble lies, either with Nightfall or with Batwoman, you're just going to have to read and see. Let's get into the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Good. I thought the fight between Batwoman and Batgirl was handled very well, and it ended in an interesting note that fights in comic books don't usually end, at least for the starring character. I think it was actually fun and handled well. It shows how powerful both characters are and how smart both characters are, but not without giving a definitive winner, and giving it actually handles it very nicely. So I did like the fight between Batwoman and Batgirl. Nightfall as a character I am enjoying, and I really do like the psychology and the methodology behind her, and I do like the look a lot. I don't like her lackeys. Her lackeys look silly and generic, but Nightfall herself looks awesome. The story was well paced too, so I did enjoy that. Bad. The only bad I can say is it's a little predictable at a few points. Like Batgirl has to go, and the tad bit spoiler. Batgirl has to go in alone and take on these bad guys because that's the deal. But she really has Batwoman hiding in the shadows to pop out when she needs her. So I do think that's a little predictable. But besides that, this was actually a fairly good issue. I think it was well paced and well written. So I'll give this a 4.5 out of 5. Did enjoy it. Oh, Superboy, Superboy, Superboy. Issue number 12. Um, let's talk a little bit about Superboy. Before we actually get into this issue itself, what I do want to point out is the creative team for Superboy, the new creative team that's going on, which I believe, and I could be wrong, it might be the same people that are working on Superboy right now because Scott Bloodell left Superboy. So I think it is Tom DeFalco and Robinson Roche, or please excuse me if I cannot pronounce the names that well. But what they basically said in an interview, or if it is them, but the new creative team for Superboy basically said in an interview is that they're going to treat Superboy not necessarily as a good guy, but not as a bad guy. You really don't know what he is. The S on his chest doesn't necessarily stand for what's in his heart. And I found that to be interesting because last issue, Superboy stole a lot of money, but he didn't think it was a bad thing that he did it. It's not like he's evil and he knows he's doing evil. He doesn't know it's bad. He just thinks it's a way of life or something that he can do to further his life. So I do like the fact that they're going with Superboy not necessarily evil, not necessarily good. I mean, he has a kind heart, but he's willing to do bad things if necessary. That makes sense. He doesn't know what's bad. I mean, you gotta understand, this guy was only born like a few weeks ago. So basically, the gist of this issue is Superboy goes out. He goes partying with this girl who's basically the Paris Hilton of the DC universe. gets drunk and has a psychic warfare or telekinetic warfare with a bad guy. That's about it. Good. I do like how Superboy's powers are utilized in this, even when it comes down to him drinking alcohol and how he has total control with his TK power or his telekinetic power that he can actually manipulate his body in ways that other people can't. Being able to do stuff such as spitting up alcohol or understanding exactly how the alcohol is manipulating his senses in his body. Um, Really cool, interesting way to go things with Superboy. And there is a good flashback scene with Bunker, and I do think Bunker and Superboy play off each other very well. I would like to see more of Connor and Miguel working with each other because I think they're a good team with each other. Bad story really doesn't serve a purpose. The action really wasn't that great. Um, and it really doesn't set much up for the future for Superboy. I mean, it kind of sets up the personality for Superboy, which is fine, but it doesn't set up anything else. On a whole, I'll give this a 2.5 out of 5. It really did impress me, and I really don't recommend it. You could probably skip this issue, go to issue 0, and get a fresh start there. Down to the last three titles, we have Deathstroke issue number 12, the final fight between Lobo and Deathstroke. And very much like Batman and Robin, this is yet again another WWE matchup. This is another Mortal Kombat match or Street Fighter, Scorpion versus Sub-Zero. So basically, that's it. The final fight. That's it. I'm not gonna say anything else. There's nothing else to review. Nothing else happens in the story except for the two of them fighting. So good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good. You know, I never was too keen on. Okay, I'm not the biggest fan of Rob Liefeld's art. I don't hate his art like a lot of people. I just don't care. It doesn't. I mean, some of his early art was but some of his art's now okay. It's bearable. I don't care. What I do like is the fact that he draws Deathstroke's costume more like the old DC continuity than the new 52 continuity, and I prefer Deathstroke's costume that way. I thought some of the internal dialogue in this was actually pretty interesting, particularly one part where Deathstroke and Lobo are fighting with each other, and at the very end, Deathstroke punches him in the face. He says, "I give Lobo a kiss," and then Lobo punches him in the face, and he kisses me back. It's silly, but it's kind of fun. And I do like the fact that Deathstroke acknowledges that he's older and he has to do things differently than he would if he was younger, and take things to the extreme in certain areas a bit differently. So I did like that. There's two things that stood out to me. Number one is they play off Lobo like he's some tyrant genocidal maniac, like he conquers worlds and then he blows them up. I think there was actually one point in this where I think it's either Deathstroke says to in his head or Lobo says, "Oh, I go and I conquer worlds." Or Lobo's not a conqueror. He's not a genocidal. Well, okay, maybe he is a genocidal maniac, but only really to his. Okay, maybe he is a genocidal maniac, but Lobo is a mercenary. He's not mongrel or dark side. He doesn't go around enslaving planets and then blowing them up. He mostly blows them up if he's pissed at it. He's crazy. He's Lobo. He blew up his own planet because he wanted to win the science fair project, and he gave himself an A. Um, Another bad is Zealot, and this is a teeny spoiler, nothing big, but Zealot and Deathstroke make out at the end. Deathstroke just walks up to her and just like makes out with her, and then goes like, "You know where you can find me if you want more of that." And then he just jumps off. I'm like, no, Deathstroke doesn't do that kind of stuff. So I think Deathstroke was a teeny bit out of character at certain points. On a whole, I prefer Kyle Higgins Deathstroke to Rob Liefeld's. Uh, I think The problem is Rob Liefeld's writing Deathstroke like he writes some of his 90 characters, and I don't really prefer it. It's not horrible. It's just not great. It's not keeping my interest that much. Um, uh, Half the time this week comes up and I go, oh, Deathstroke's coming out this week. I completely forgot. I do miss Kyle Higgins and the former artists on this. very much. And I'm very vocal on that. Uh, Not quite a 2.5 out of 5. I give this probably 3. This was okay. I did enjoy myself at points, but at other points I just had to shake my head and go, "Oh, Rob, what are you doing?" Last two titles of the day: The Ravagers, issue number 4. Uh, so basically, Beast Boy and Terra go to Brother Blood to save the other Ravagers, and a big fight ensues. Brother Blood versus Beast Boy, more than anything else. And basically, Brother Blood wants to do is use Beast Boy's blood to open a gateway to the Red, the same Red that we see in Animal Man and Swamp Thing. Which I like the little connection that kind of explains why Beast Boy is red, because he has a connection to the, no pun intended, red. Big fight ensues, and one of the Ravagers does not make it out alive. I won't say who. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good. I really do like this interpretation of Brother Blood. Brother Blood, I've always thought to be one of the more interesting villains of the Teen Titans and one of the most underutilized. I feel as though he went downhill in 2003. With the relaunch of the Teen Titans with Jeff Johns. One of the few things I didn't like about Jeff Johns' runs with Teen Titans is I did not like his Brother Blood. I didn't like the kid Brother Blood. I like this Brother Blood, and this Brother Blood is awesome. Intimidating, powerful, and intelligent. Everything a villain needs to be to challenge the Ravagers. I really do like the tone of the Ravagers comic. Consistently, it feels like a blend of X-Men, Runaways, and Teen Titans, and it does it very well. There is a cliffhanger at the end with a DC superhero crossing over into the Ravagers and the possibility of a new member. Bad, I can't really think of anything bad about this issue. I think it was a well paced, well done issue. Uh, 5 out of 5. Ravagers has been surprisingly good. When the second wave came out, Ravagers was at like the bottom of my list of things to get. But I gave the first issue a chance. It surprised me. I enjoyed it, and I continued. So that just shows that you should try things because you never know if you're going to like it. And I really do like Ravagers. I like the look, I like the feel, and I like how it's so different. And I think that's one of the things that I like so much about it is it's different. It's ballsy and it's not conforming to the norm, and it's good writing with that. So Ravagers, 5 out of 5. And lastly, we have Demonites, issue number 12. Basically, Morgan Le Fay has showed herself, and her ultimate plan is to use the dead body of Merlin, take the Demonite's essence and powers to revitalize the body, and transfer her mind into the body. And that's the basic gist. At the end of the day, whether or not they defeat Morgan or they don't defeat Morgan Le Fay, one of the Demonites are going to turn on the others. Who will it be? Well, I think we all know who, but you're just going to have to read and see. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good, the pacing was very well done. I really do like Morgan Le Fay in here because she feels like the old school DC Universe Morgan Le Fay, but she feels slightly updated. The look, I like the cape she has. The mask, it still looks as intimidating as ever. I really do like Morgan Le Fay, and it's just, look at the cover art. And by the way, much like Batgirl, the cover art in here looks very nice. But really do like Morgan Le Fay in this. I thought King Arthur was badass in this. What he does is pretty badass. And, even when you think a story arc is done, Demon Knights does a fantastic job at keeping you guessing and keeping you trying to find out exactly where it's going to go and what's it going to do. And I think there's an ultimate plan here. When it came down to Demon Knights or Stormwatch, it was pretty clear which book Paul Cornell was doing better, and it was Demon Knights. There's no bad about this. 5 out of 5. One of the best comics from the New 52, if not for the fact it's so different, is the fact that it's so well written. All the characters play off each other very well. There's a good balance and synergy. There's no carbon copies of everyone. They all just play with each other very well. So 5 out of 5. Pick it up. So that is my comic load for the week. Which one is my favorite? You're just going to have to watch in my Andrew Cutter picks of the weeks. And I'm going to end this video here. This is Andrew saying, peace out.